I love this comic book, The Walking Dead, book number 29. Rick has woken up in the Woodbury Clinic. He collapses, and a young nurse called Alice calls Dr. Stevens to help her get him back onto the bed. Stevens says he should have been asleep for a couple more hours, and they try to bring him back to the bed. Suddenly, Rick punches Stevens in the face and asks who he is, threatening to kill him in the process. Stevens tells Alice to get a sedative, and she injects it into Rick. Stevens tells her to get someone to help move Rick back to his bed. The governor has assaulted Michonne, who is weeping. He says that he enjoyed every minute of it, and that she had the right to cry as much as she wanted. Michonne says she's not crying for herself, she's crying for him. She says that all the things she's going to do to him scare her. The governor calls her statement cute. Bruce opens the cell door and lets the governor out. He says that Michonne should rest for when he comes back, and he's going to go rest himself. In the town of Woodbury, the governor is a completely different person. He helps a mother to get her unruly children to behave, and he tells a local town drunk, Bob Stuckey, to get some food. He arrives at his house and says to an unseen person that he's a little bit late. He is talking to his undead niece, Penny Blake, who tries to attack him. The governor slaps her in the face and says that she should behave herself. He apologizes about shouting and asks what's wrong. Penny has kicked over her food bucket, and the governor brings it back to her. He says it's not good to do that, because then she won't be able to eat. Penny spits out the raw flesh, and the governor says that that is what she gets for kicking it away, because now the food is spoiled. He says he'd get her more food, but that he's too tired at the moment. The governor then proceeds to go sit in his chair. Gabe knocks on his door and gives him Rick's hand, and a couple of human heads. The governor throws Rick's hand to his daughter and puts the head in an aquarium. He makes a joke about 57 channels and nothing on, sitting in front of a series of aquariums filled with human heads and arranged like a large bank of televisions. In Glenn's cell, Glenn is crouched down and talking to himself about going home. Gabe comes in and tells him that Woodbury is his home now. He tells Glenn to get up, but Glenn refuses. So Gabe calls him a coward and drags him out of his cell to talk to the governor. The governor wants to ask Glenn some questions. Glenn doesn't pay attention, so the governor punches him. Glenn asks him, "Why are you doing this?" The governor replies with, "The same reason anybody does anything, to get something I want." The governor says that he's going to visit Michonne next door, in case he couldn't recognize the screams. He assures Glenn that no matter what he hears, Michonne won't be killed. He asks Bruce Cooper if she is ready, and he answers probably not. The governor is pleased by that and walks in for round 2. As the screams proceed, Glenn becomes more and more horrified. Glenn starts to cry. Back in the clinic, Rick wakes up and he asks Dr. Stevens if he is the one who patched him up. Rick tells him it feels like it's infected, and Stevens says it's not and it's normal. He also asks if Rick is going to attack him again, but he promises he won't. Rick asks for the governor's real name, and Stevens reveals that his real name is Philip. He also says that he hasn't always been so mean, but he can't do anything to challenge him because he knows what would happen to him if he tried to rebel. Suddenly, the governor arrives, states that what the doctor said was correct, and Dr. Stevens asks what he wants. The governor says that he told him to come here so he could change the bandage on his ear. The governor then asks if Rick is healing nicely. Rick asks when he's going to torture him, but the governor says no. He informs him that he wants Rick to be an arena fighter, and that he has assaulted Michonne, and has let Glenn go. He says that he knows everything about the prison, and if Glenn is stupid enough, he'll lead them there. The horror of Woodbury continues. I'm not enjoying the governor at all. He's truly crazy nuts. He enjoys hurting people. He's not sane. He's not normal. I think his henchmen only follow him because they are afraid that he'll do horrible things to them otherwise. I hope that's the case. I'm glad everyone is still alive to this point, but I don't think they'll be the same if they escape this madman. The physical, mental, and emotional torture he is doing to them is nearly unimaginable. There are certain things in this book and the previous book that as a woman, I do not enjoy reading. I wish these kinds of things would not be put in books or other materials for public consumption. It seems to be almost always a male writer who puts that kind of thing in a book or a movie. I don't know if the writer does not want women to read this book. It makes me ask many questions about the writer and his intentions. Maybe if the writer understood what having something like that done to you feels like, how it affects you, he would be more respectful and not have written anything like that. No matter what kind of torture is thrown at a man, he can never have any real understanding of what something like this feels like when it's being done to a woman. This is a level of violation that no man can ever understand, only perpetrate. And Penny Blake? Is this the governor's niece or daughter? It's not clear, but it's disturbing.